Check 1, 2, 3. Here's what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trailblazers drop another close one to the LA Clippers at Crypto.com Arena, falling 132-127 last night. Anthony Simons was on fire with 38 points. Shaden Sharp added in 27. Scoot, career high, 19. But the balanced scoring and defensive effort of the Clippers put them over the top at the end. A pair of Monday Night Football games last night as the Tennessee Titans, with an incredible comeback, stunned the Miami Dolphins 28-21. Will Levis coming out party. He eats bananas with the peel on. And you had the New York Football Giants in a last-second field goal to take the Monday Night Football game over the Green Bay Packers last night. Coming up in hour number 3, Devon Pouncey, friend of the program, is going to be joining the show for the entire third hour. But I'm back from a little mini trip. Replay in the NBA. All sorts of NFL talk. Hour 1 of RCM starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for Justin Myers to wake you up here on Rip City Mornings, 620 Rip City Radio.
And a very happy Tuesday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brendan is safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Tuesday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. Appreciate Chris Burkhardt sitting in the spot, filling in yesterday. Sounds like, Chris and Brendan had a very eventful morning.
You could say we were gaslighted.
Potentially. I was in a cozy cabin out in the woods in Central Oregon, sleeping in, not even worried about it. But it sounds like you guys had a pretty eventful morning. Nonetheless, a lot of stuff happened. Obviously, they covered a ton yesterday. I don't want to piggyback on a lot of that, but it's always fun to talk a little bit of football, right? And I have some thoughts. Did the Chargers shut Justin Herbert down for the season? Is it potentially over for Brandon Staley? Like, is this whole experiment between Brandon Staley, Justin Herbert, Kellen Moore, is that whole thing and again, it's one of these unpleasantries we don't like to talk about as Oregon fans, which is coming to the reality. Maybe potentially the guy we thought was going to be MVP caliber NFL quarterback. He might not be it. Doesn't mean he's bad. Doesn't mean he's terrible, right? We do this with quarterbacks. There are so many kind of good quarterbacks in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, there are very few elite-level quarterbacks, and there are some, especially now, because there's some bad football being played over the weekend. I got oddly fascinated because I was there on Sunday, found a fun little spot in Sun River. So we're watching some Sunday Ticket, watching some Red Zone, and Brent, I got oddly fascinated with that Vikings-Raiders game. That Vikings-Raider game was atrocious. So never in the NFL do you get the it's so bad it's kind of good. Usually, you'll get one of those in college where, you watch a college football game and you're like, neither of these two teams can move the ball, or neither of these two teams are playing a lick of defense. Like, this game is so bad, it is good. You very rarely get that in the NFL. You got it in the NFL. There's some bad football being played in the NFL right now. And obviously, a lot of quarterbacks are hurt. A lot of teams dealing with injuries. Justin Jefferson came back for a half, and then he gets smacked. He goes out. Tyreek Hill got hurt last night. T.J. Watson concussion protocol. You just think about not only the quarterbacks, but just, man, there has been a rash of injuries in the NFL with superstar players, and it is leading to some bad football. I mean, some really bad football. Justin Herbert got hurt in the Broncos game. Chalk him up to the list of quarterbacks. So, yeah.
And how bad was the quarterback play, Justin, in that Vikings game? I mean,
they couldn't get across the 50-yard line.
I mean, I'll say this. As bad as Jimmy Garoppolo was, Aiden O'Connell's worse. So let's just go ahead and leave it at that. I know they needed to make a statement and make a change, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy G's healthy. Might as well go back to the guy you're paying $20 million a year. at least for the rest of the year. And
that whole Raider thing is such a mess.
Oh, it's disaster.
It's such a mess. And obviously, we'll see what happens in the offseason. They're going to go get a new coach.
And then the Vikings, Justin, when you consider how long and I was shocked to know that he was out almost 10 weeks. Like for a hamstring.
Yeah, but he was like a specialist.
Oh, yeah.
And they were contemplating surgery and all that stuff.
When you consider that and the Kirk Cousins injury, the Vikings are going to heavily regret not tanking for well, I know I say that. I know we've agreed you can't tank, but you can still, not win more than like 5-6 games, something.
Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Since we're here and you brought it up, and I think it's a fantastic discussion because fans, and I'm a fan too, right? Fans get into this spot where it's like, all right, the New England Patriots beat by Steelers on Thursday Night Football. But there's a lot of Patriots fans that are like, no, tank. Tank away, get Caleb Williams. And if you move on from Belichick, fine, but let's just tank away and get Drake May or get Caleb Williams or, get one of those guys. But you can't tank and I don't know how you do it. Perfect example last night. Brendan, the Tennessee Titans aren't going to the playoffs, okay? They're not going to the playoffs. The Tennessee Titans would have been better off losing that game last night, especially when the Dolphins kind of made their comeback. And it's like, but you can't tell Will Levis to stop. Like, it would be better for the Titans to lose games, get higher up in the draft, and draft like Marvin Harrison Jr. or Roma Dunze or one of those guys. I think Will Levis might be a dude.
Oh, he is.
He might be a dude. Get him a weapon. But, you can't tell those guys to, stop this comeback. Or, like in the NBA, it's real simple. You either guys get hey, you tight, a little tight in the hamstring, sit down. Or, as we saw with the Blazers, Chauncey Billups is doing, I think, a magnificent coaching job this year. We're going to talk about the Blazers later. But you go back to the tanking, he didn't call a lick of timeouts down the stretch, right? Even the tanking Blazer team would be up 4 and all right, here comes a 10-2 run. And it's like, Coach, you going to call timeouts? I ain't calling any timeouts. So you could do that I don't know how you do it in the NFL.
I think
because you look at I think the Titans last night were a perfect example. Or even the Giants. The Giants would be better off. They're 4-8. They stink. They're paying Danny Dimes, so they can't really go get a quarterback. But the Giants would be better off losing these games. But they came back, beat the Packers, kick a last-second field goal. I don't know how you tank in the NFL because those dudes, especially in December, on the defensive line, those wide receivers, the backup tight ends, they're playing for jobs. Right? They're playing for jobs next year.
It would be what I would call a soft reset rather than a tank because you look at what the Raiders are doing. Don't get me wrong, and it was awesome because I just saw Tommy DeVito throw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Hodgins, shout out Oregon State last night, when looking at the Giants-Packers game. But, Justin, for the most part, other than this, which I know they won, Tommy DeVito's been terrible in the 6 games that he played. Aiden O'Connell, who they replaced Jimmy Garoppolo with, has been terrible. So I think, unlike, the Titans who, when Tannehill got hurt, they're like, oh, wow, look what we have kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It depends on who that backup is. And I think you saw in Minnesota, you're like, uh-oh, the NFL figured out Josh Dobbs really quick.
Real fast. There's maybe a reason why he was available so quick.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're totally right because I agree with you. But I think lackluster quarterback play, and if you're all right, we're going to throw out, again, Justin, I think the Vikings threw out Nick Mullins because they were so desperate.
But here's what's interesting.
I think that lack of quarterback play can kind of lead just to more losses than wins and going to get you a top 10 pick, probably.
Yeah, I go back to our conversation, and maybe we might talk about the Seahawks as well. The Seahawks are a mess. They're the rumblings.
Drew Lock season?
Rumblings in Seattle. They're Pete Carroll. They love Pete Carroll. But the rumblings are getting a little loud up there. We'll talk about that coming in. But I go back to our conversation we had with Brady Henderson last week. And we were talking about, what do the Seahawks do at quarterback? But it not only goes with the Seahawks, it applies to kind of everybody. And Brady Henderson made a great point. He's like, since they drafted Russell Wilson in 2012, I think they have drafted 2 quarterbacks, both late round guys. never attempt to draft a competent backup. They've always went out and got competent backups, but they never drafted anybody. And you look at like what is going on with the 49ers and Brock Purdy. They drafted a guy, won the lottery, right? They drafted Trey Lance. That one's a bust. Had Jimmy G, went to a Super Bowl, but clearly maybe not the guy long-term. Got a little Jared Goff energy, And it's like they both get hurt. Brock Purdy is like, yeah, guys, I'm super accurate. I'm super confident. I know you drafted me very late, last overall, but I can get the ball to Deebo Samuel. I can get the ball to Christian McCaffrey, and so 49ers win the Super Bowl. Win the lottery. They haven't won the Super Bowl yet. They might, but
getting out ahead of your skis.
Little slip of the tongue there, but yeah. But they won the lottery. They won the quarterback lottery with Brock Purdy. Cincinnati Bengals may have won the lottery with Jake Browning. Like Jake Browning? How about what Jake Browning's been doing the last couple of weeks? But it's the whole point of like you got to go out and you got to draft these guys in the 3rd or the 4th round. And yeah, sometimes you're going to get who was the guy from Minnesota?
Josh Dobbs?
Not Josh Dobbs. The guy who got
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. Like sometimes you're going to get those guys, and they kind of and they're like meh. And sometimes you're going to get a Jake Browning, who's like last 2 weeks is like, is Jake Browning did he just get himself a job? Like, is there going to be a team next year that's going to be like, maybe we'll take a shot at Jake Browning? Clearly, like what happened with Brock Purdy. So, yeah, you look at like, and even like Will Levis and like Tannehill was the guy there but like, you can't be afraid. Scared money don't make money. And you see a lot of these teams where they're a little bit afraid in terms of drafting their backup quarterback. But yeah, there's some bad football being played out there. Go ahead. Yes, Brendan.
Yeah, no, just to that point a little bit, because I thought when you and Brady made that point, it was terrific. Like many, they had a shot at Brock Purdy, but again, not like you would have expected them to go chase Brock Purdy. But interestingly enough, Justin, if you go back each of the last, the 2022 drafts, not including this most recent one, 2022, 2021, the Seahawks, where they picked, it wasn't like, 2 picks later is a great quarterback. You have to go all the way back to 2020 when they had a chance to take a guy like Jalen Hurts. Now, would they have done that with Russell Wilson? No, but it's like you have to go back. Like, as I see it, there wasn't really an opportunity for them to take a quarterback these last 3 drafts.
Well, here's my point is like, and what Brady was saying last week and kind of what I'm saying right now is it's a lottery ticket. It's $2 at the gas station, right? When you
familiar with those?
When you filled up Burkhart's tank, did you get a lottery ticket too? No,
I should have. I absolutely should.
But you've been there, right? You've been there at like the gas station or the store, and you're like, Mega Millions or what's Powerball up to? Meh, it's $2, right? 49ers, guys, this is 7th round. We like this. Brock Purdy, yeah. Let's throw 2, and boy, did it cash in. So I'm not saying you got to make, like there's the lottery and then there's investment. And you know what they say, because I know this because I read the DraftKings copy, right? Not investment purposes, for entertainment only. So there's investments in quarterbacks, which, to your point, you're exactly right. There really was no, but every once in a while, there's a Jake Browning out there in the 5th round who's just like,
And I think he went undrafted.
Yeah, I know he went undrafted. Who just is capable of winning 2 NFL football games back-to-back weeks. And, like, the Jets are a good defense. Or not the Jets. Who did the Bengals beat? The Jets actually played really well.
Colts, right? Right? Or was it
yes, it was the Colts,
yes,
right, because it was the Apple Cup battle between him and Minshew. Jake Browning always beats Gardner Minshew. Just know that that's going to happen. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the Bengals. Like, it's $2. It's a lottery ticket.
So would you consider Brock Purdy, Justin, and this is a bit of a loaded question, but it'll answer my just theory on this. Would you consider him to be in the mix to be a Pro Bowler this year?
Brendan, he's in the mix to be the MVP.
Fair. That's all I needed. I needed. So
because again, I get so frustrated because it's this draft cachet that you put on. If he was drafted 3rd overall, if like he did some workout, and let's just say Kyle Shanahan was like, "Hey guys, I went to Iowa State's pro day. This Purdy kid, we're taking him third overall.
Right.
If he was drafted third overall and played exactly the same, we would be like, this guy's an MVP.
Right.
What a find. This is the greatest, maybe one of the greatest drafts of all time. But it wasn't. He was in the 7th round because the draft is hard.
Right.
But it's like because you get so obsessed with the draft in the spring, and it's like you put that label on him. He's Ryan the Temp, right? He's always going to be Mr. Irrelevant, but he's MVP.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say, Justin?
Who's playing better quarterback in the NFL right now? Who's playing better quarterback right now?
Maybe Lamar Jackson.
Maybe.
No, I'm not confident. That's just not too after last night. But Justin,
Purdy's crushing
just
everybody.
to show that the guy who was picked last in the NFL draft. Let me just throw this out. Say he gets a Pro Bowl this year, Justin.
Yeah.
That would be a Pro Bowl before the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, keep going. Like, you're talking good dudes. I mean, the only guy that's earned a Pro Bowl nod so far was Sauce Gardner because he's been a stud for the Jets. But you're talking Kayvon Thibodeau? I know. Dudes. And, Chris and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. Like, we're like, is Brock Purdy finally getting the respect he deserves? And I said, well, for that, we have to check in with Chad.
Yeah, well, the answer is no. He's not. Because
I haven't talked to Chad in a minute. But
we'll talk about all the MVP, like if Purdy's not in there, it's like, but if he was the first pick of the 2nd round and playing exactly the way he is, we're like, oh, boy, this guy, how did 32 teams pass on him, right? But instead, it's like, how did 32 teams pass on him 7 times? All right, we got some more NFL coming up because we're going to have to have a Justin Herbert conversation. We're also going to have a Seahawks conversation. Like, is it time for a reset? I love Pete Carroll. I do. Is it working?
What does a reset
Is the experiment
mean?
working? Is it time for a reset going on up in Seattle? With that ownership group, who knows? We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. foreseeable future until New Year's because no offense to the Meineke Car Care Bowl or whatever is going to be playing. And, yes, I will be watching these bowls starting on Saturday. You look at this transfer portal thing. You look at these opt-out things, and we're going to talk more on that, by the way, because Oregon just went into the waiver wire, and they got themselves a quarterback next year. May potentially get themselves 2 quarterbacks next year. Welcome to college football in 2023 and beyond. But college football, for the most part, is done until the week of New Year's, right? There's the weekend of New Year's, right? There'll be a handful of games that may have some consequence, but regardless, we're still going to stick with our NFL Tuesday because it's an awful lot of fun. And there was a couple of Monday Night Football games, which, by the way, like, I know I get college football on the brain and kind of miss some things. Brendan, I was so confused by Monday Night Football last night because I was like, wait, are the Giants playing the Packers on Monday Night Football, or are and they're like, yeah, we're just going to play 2 of them. We're going to play 2 games, which didn't hate. Should they be doing that moving forward? Should we have like 2 Monday Night Football games? I mean, how long before they say, hey, let's play 2 Monday night games, let's play 2 Thursday night games, and Sunday football is going to be down to like 4 games? Like,
that would be disappointing.
Like, how long before that's
not
actually
that little games. I'd be maybe okay with 2 games on Monday occasionally.
But it was like, it threw me for a loop. I completely forgot about it.
Justin,
I was like, oh, hey, Titans Dolphins last night. It's like, wait, the Giants play the Packers?
Yeah, Justin, you can tell the listening audience that because of the Blazer game and because of the
and the Blazers playing.
Yeah, because I was watching the Blazer game.
I was out of screens.
And then I was keeping track of the Titans-Dolphins game. You can tell the listening audience, and I don't care because we don't have very many Green Bay or New York people here. I did not know that game was on until very late. And actually, as I mentioned to Justin, nearly forgot to put in our update this morning.
Let's be honest. If it wasn't the New York Giants, who are 5-8,
sorry, Travis Demers, we love you, buddy.
And the Green Bay Packers, which outside of the Steelers, I think probably Steelers, Cowboys, Packers. Those are the 3 teams that are nationwide fan bases. Maybe Raiders as well.
That's
maybe
fair.
throw the Raiders in there. But like those teams, like when the Packers play, they draw big numbers. But for the most part, it was a pretty forgettable game. Fun to watch on a Monday night. Like, hey, last second field goal. But
that Blazer game was down to the wire, though, Justin.
Blazer game was down to the wire, too. Like, but let's dive, and we'll talk about the Blazers and replay. And, like, is this what we want from replay? Is it pinky finger? Like, pinky finger touching? Like, is this what we want from replay? More on that in a bit. We're going to do some NFL tiers right now. Now, the tiers, as we created them back in September, are Super Bowl contender, playoff contender, pretender, and stinks. The pretenders are going away because now that December is coming, there are no more, well, I shouldn't say no more. There's a couple, my Steelers might be one of them, pretenders of like teams you go, they might make, but there's a lot more of those pretenders that just kind of stink. But let's start at the top. Let's go to the NFC right now. Dallas Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender. Dallas Cowboys are, again, I think we all are just inevitably waiting for the Cowboys to collapse in the postseason, and we're all just waiting for that picture, those videos, those B-rolls of the sad Cowboys fans, because the Cowboys, to their fans, have treated them like the timely reference, Charlie Brown and Lucy and the football. All right?
You love that reference.
It was a very meaningful reference of my childhood because, obviously, when I was growing up, I loved football and I loved the comic strips. But, yeah, every time Lucy pulled the football, right? Charlie Brown, she's not going to let Charlie Brown kick the football, and I feel like the Cowboys are doing that to their fans, and ultimately they will. But as we sit here right now on December 12th, Cowboys are good. They beat the dog out of the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, and the Cowboys are 100% a Super Bowl contender. Let's pump the brakes on this Eagles are frauds bit because I saw a lot of that on the interwebs over the last couple of days, and it's like they're in the Super Bowl. The offensive line is still that offensive line. Yeah, they look bad against the Cowboys, and they look bad against the 49ers. But every team goes through like a 3 to 4 week little funk, And I think part of it was the Eagles, when they won their 10 games, they were not aesthetically pleasing. But I don't care. There's no top 25 in the NFL. There's no college football playoff committee in the NFL to ruin their sport. They go by wins and losses, and it's like it doesn't matter if it's pretty, if it's ugly. The Vikings won on Sunday. They count that one still. They shouldn't, but they still count that one as a win. Eagles are still very much playoff contender. Yes, Brendan.
No, for sure. I think that
Super Bowl contender.
Sure, and I think when you really just put the Chiefs and the Eagles in a vacuum, it's easy to see. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about the Chiefs here in a minute, but back to the Eagles. I mean, big part of that, Justin, Jalen Hurts been playing hurt this year. He's got a knee. I was hearing the crew talk about it Sunday night that he's working through some issues. Obviously, they are kind of the hunted after last year, and the part that nobody talks about is that, the Eagles being 10-3 is still ridiculously impressive, Justin, because no team got gutted like they did in the offseason. They lost so many pieces, and then both coordinators.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just saying, I'm no expert, but if the 49ers lost 2 or 3 of their top players due to salary cap, which, hey, that's going to happen when you got to pay Brock Purdy, and then lost, I guess D'Amico Ryans did leave. So, maybe not, but, I think the Eagles are still impressive. I don't know that they're my Super Bowl favorite because, Justin.
But they can still win the Super Bowl. If you look at the teams in the NFL, because I'm there. And listen, they're in the content business just like me, but like I turn on Get Up and there's like, are the Eagles still elite? It's like, yeah, they're 10-3 in the NFL. Bill Parcells, I was not a big Bill Parcells fan. Some people are. I was not. I always thought he was a little bit overrated. I always thought he was a guy that he, kind of like Derek Jeter. It's like, because you coached in New York, is like, But there was something that Bill Parcells always said, and it has always rung true for me, and I believe it to this day. In the NFL, unlike college football, in the NFL, you are what your record is. You are. You don't just win 10 games by accident. You can't. And by the way, in the NFL, you don't just lose 9 games by accident either, right? Even if they are close, the teams in the NFL that win the close games, that win the ugly games, they're the teams that can persevere and ultimately win a Super Bowl. You are what your record is. And the Eagles are 10-3. Eagles have got Seahawks in Seattle this weekend. Oh, boy, Seahawks. Giants, Cardinals, Giants. That worst case scenario, they lose 2 of those games. I don't see them losing 2 of those games. So probably going 3-1 down the stretch. That's going to make them 13-4 in the NFL. They're gonna be just fine. So, all right, continuing with the tier system. In the NFC, Super Bowl contenders, Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers. Boy, the Lions, I was ready to hot take, say the Lions could win the Super Bowl. And boy, they did not look good. What is happening with Detroit? Just out of nowhere, they're just like.
I think it was just a one-off, a bad game.
They lost to the Packers 2 weeks ago. They're in a dogfight against the Saints. I don't know. I wonder how comfortable the Detroit Lions are in this spot out in front. But we don't need to talk about that now. But it is one of those things where, I think they're good. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division. But it's like, are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't know. Super Bowl contenders are comfortable being the hunted. I don't know if they are. So in the NFC, Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, maybe Lions. Nobody else has a chance of winning the Super Bowl out of the NFC. In the AFC, I still believe in the Miami Dolphins. We'll wait and see how hurt Tyreek Hill is going to be because that is a massive, massive piece of that. But I still believe in the Dolphins. Ravens might be the best team in the AFC as we sit right now. Can the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Is the AFC down to a 2-horse race?
They can because they have the greatest quarterback on planet Earth. Now, can he get his receivers to stop having mental lapses? We talked about it a little bit yesterday, Justin.
Everybody did, right?
I'm sure you've seen the replay. Chris and I just felt robbed. It was one of the coolest plays to ever happen in a football game, and to see it come back, Yeah, just disappointing. But no, I think the fact that as crazy, and Chris and I could not believe it. Justin, Russ Wilson is one game behind the Chiefs.
I know.
Russ.
I know.
We were ready to write him. Is he the one that didn't write back, Justin?
Well, let's let him make the playoffs, but maybe potentially the Broncos are good. Where are they in the tiers? More on that coming up in just a bit. But one last thing on the Chiefs though. Like I've told you I'm not an X's and O's guy. All right. And by the way, when it comes to football, unless you played high level football, neither are any of you. You can watch the all 22 all you want. You don't know the X's and O's. You just don't, and that's fine. Just admit it and move forward. But I'm a vibes guy. And I can tell when there is something else. But Patrick Mahomes doesn't just blow up on the officials the way that he did and whined and cried his whole way through unless there's something else going on. I firmly believe, and I know, look, football's an emotional game. Every win matters. These guys are the ultimate competitors, especially somebody like Patrick Mahomes, who, like you said, may go down as one of the greatest to ever play the position. But vibes-wise, I felt the way he acted after that game, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, he's got to be better, and I lost. No, that tells me something else going on. Anger is a secondary emotion. If anybody doesn't know that, anger is a secondary emotion, most often brought on upon by fear. And I think Patrick Mahomes is a little afraid that he doesn't have the dudes. I think he might be in a spot where he's like, because he doesn't just blow up like that. He's not a robot like Russell Wilson, but he's pretty measured. And to see him lose his mind like that tells me there's something else going on there. What are your thoughts on my theory on the Chiefs? Like, there's a worry there because he doesn't just blow up like that.
You're absolutely right, Justin. The only time I have seen him ever anywhere close to that was when he was getting put on his rear end all Super Bowl long by Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. And that's when you saw, the little look up to Russell Wilson, who was like all pouty in the box too, being like, oh, that must suck to get sacked that much. But that was the same kind of thing again, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin. That was one of the last times we saw the Chiefs look lifeless. Like, that was a low point, and what did they do? Responded, had a big Super Bowl year.
They were still in the Super Bowl, though.
Right. But, like, that moment when you're like, oh, gosh, like, nobody could protect Mahomes. He had, like, 5 seconds to throw. So it's rare, and, again, not to make it about one guy, Justin, but knowing what you've told me about how your experience with Russell Wilson and how that locker room kind of got divided with players, do you think Patrick Mahomes is advocating for Kadarius Toney to be in that building anymore? I mean, I don't want to call out somebody's job, but this is a boy who cried wolf more than once.
Here's a couple things. First off, to worry about, like, the locker room divided, there actually has to be a division. I don't know if there's a division. I think most people in that locker room are like, what else are we going to do? And I hate this NFL culture of, like, cut his you-know-what, right? Cut him. Get him out of the building. It's like, that's human being. Now, again, NFL's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's privilege, not a right. But I do not like the whole, like, you line up offsides, cut him. It's like, because here's the flip side of that. So many NFL players, I think, play out of fear of being cut. There's only so many guys who are like, Travis Kelce makes that ridiculous. Nothing in football says you should ever make that play. Do you know what I mean? Every coach would probably watch, like, I love Top Gun, the OG. Do you remember Top Gun, the OG? Brendan,
of course.
When Maverick is thrown, and then guess what he does? He throws the brakes on. He's going to fly right by. And he does. It's a great move, and brakes, guy flies right by. And then they go to the debriefing, and there's Charlie, who he's hooking up with, but nobody knows. And Charlie is sitting in there, and she's like, what are you doing here? This is what were you thinking? And he's like, if you think you're dead. It's like, yeah, but this is pretty much an example of what not to do. I'm paraphrasing. It's been a while. That's Travis Kelce. What an amazing play. Let's watch it on film. Don't ever do this. Could you imagine if a coach, every coach in the league is like, hey, look at this. What an amazing play. Don't ever, ever, ever do this. You are down 3 in field goal range, and you're going to throw the ball backwards as a tight end. No. It's an amazing play. Don't ever do it. Never do this, because only guys who are perfectly comfortable knowing they're never getting cut, like Travis Kelce, would make that play. No other player in the league would. But
and how crazy is it, Justin, that in all the irony of it, the player he threw to was Kadarius
of course,
Toney.
of course it was.
Can't make that up.
And by the way, all you stop on we can't make that call. It's like the official who threw the flag did not go, you know what I think's going to happen here? I think Travis Kelce's going to catch one over the middle, and then he's going to spiral lateral it backwards, and we may see one of the greatest. But I'm going to ruin it by throwing the flag. We have such hindsight, right? Or, it's hindsight. The dude threw a flag because the wide receiver's offsides. Patrick Mahomes throws that one in the dirt. We don't talk about that call ever in our lives. That official is just standing there going like, the dude's offsides, there's a flag, and it's like, you can't make that call in that situation. What situation? Like the official standing there going like, I think they're going to lateral it, and it's going to be one of the greatest NFL plays maybe of all time, and I'm going to ruin it for everybody. No, it was a pre-snap penalty that he saw and threw the flag. He didn't know that he was going to lateral it.
So,
and I'm sure if he knew it, probably would have put it in his pocket, but he doesn't have that benefit.
Yeah, I tried my best, Justin, and I was waiting for your take on this too, to put it in the as I look at it and go, yeah, you look at his foot. I know that line's not official, but it's clear as day. Now, then I took it back and I said, what would have happened if that was my team or your team?
Oh, yeah, I'd be furious.
In college. And that was the Beavers or the Ducks at the same point in the game. And I'm like, let's just think about this for a minute. And I would go, and I looked at myself, I go, yeah, I'd probably think it was a bad call.
I'm going to go back to my thoughts on Florida State.
I plead the fifth.
Right? Florida State got screwed, but the amount of people who are so up in arms, Florida State fans have a beef, right? If you're a Chiefs fan, you got a beef. I got it. I understand it. But let me throw it out this way. You threw out your scenario. Let me throw out my scenario. Because if you are one of those people saying you can't make that call, you can't make that call, you can't make that call. How about this scenario? What if Mahomes throws an incomplete pass there? He throws incomplete passes. What if he throws an incomplete pass there? Guy lined up offsides. Is anybody going to say after an incomplete pass, you can't make that call in that situation? No, nobody would ever. It's an offsides call. It happens all the time. Guys line up offsides or illegal shift or illegal motion. It happens all the time. We didn't get through many tiers. I had a lot of NFL stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we had a lot to dive into. We missed you, man. You weren't here yesterday. It's good to have you back in the chair.
It's good to be back here. Even the chair right here, you can see on YouTube. I'm not sitting in it, though. I'm standing here. But got some college football thoughts coming up because Oregon went out and bought themselves a quarterback. The quarterback carousel in college football is continuing. And is there potentially an end of an era of things that we used to care about, but NIL is changing that in college football? I'll tell you what it is next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so in college football, between the championship weekend and the playoff committee and actual bowl games being played, there's a 2-week little stretch. Army-Navy was this weekend, which was awesome. But in that 2-week stretch, it is complaining season from the fan base, right? Coaches are out recruiting, and NIL is becoming a huge thing. But really, from the end of the regular season, championship Saturday, up until finally we kick off the bowl games, it's complaining season. We complain about all conference awards. We complain about the Heisman, which they got it wrong, but neither here nor there. And we complain about All-American selections. We complain about the Remington Award or the Thorpe Award, or right. We're in college football complaining season, and it is like they don't care about us. But I wonder if that is slowly but surely changing. My theory on this, as we go on campus, here we go. There was a time way back, 2019, where the Heisman still meant an awful lot, where being named an All-American, whether that's the Walter Camp, whether that's the AP, whether it's whatever, and then there's the consensus All-Americans. There was a time when winning the Biletnikoff Award was a huge deal in college football, because after your scholarship and your room and board and everything else, presumably, unless you were getting money under the table, way back in 2019, outside of winning a championship with your team, it was kind of the only thing that was still up for grabs. And I saw a lot of people, mostly Washington fans, complaining on the internet about how Bo Nix gets Offensive Player of the Year and Michael Penix didn't. It's like, well, look at the numbers, look at the games. And then there's some Oregon fans complaining about some of the All-American lists. So here's what I'm wondering. Now that these guys are getting paid, and if you are an All-American, you're probably getting paid, especially if you play wide receiver, quarterback, even defensive back. If you are an All-American caliber player, now that you're getting paid about, $200,000-$300,000, I'm assuming that's kind of the going rate for a non-quarterback, do you even care anymore? Because we're in complaining season, and I'm sure there probably are some guys that are like, man, I got screwed out of being an All-American, and fans still care about it. But I was watching that Heisman Trophy presentation, and it was fun watching Bo Nix up there, and it's fun kind of seeing, Dan Lanning up there. And I'm watching, who I'm watching, though, is I'm watching Marvin Harrison Jr., who is just like, dude, I am not winning this. I got a free trip to New York, and, I'm going to make more than all these guys. Especially if Ohio State keeps ponying up cash. I think the sting of not being an All-American, or the sting of maybe not winning the Heisman, probably goes away a little bit now with NIL. I think about this from a music perspective. All I listen to anymore is country music. This is my thing. I'm a dirtball from Southern Oregon. That's all I listen to. And there is a dude who is far and away outselling, outstreaming everybody in the genre. Now, he also, 2 years ago, did something really stupid. But Morgan Wallen's the biggest thing in country music. They go to the Country Music Awards, and guess what? Doesn't win any awards. And it's like, it was a whole thing on my TikTok algorithm. It was like, whoa, got robbed. It's like, nah, dude's selling out football stadiums. Still, he's got 1 billion more stream. The only person outstreaming him right now is Taylor Swift. It's like, no, these guys don't care. If Taylor Swift doesn't win a Grammy, do you think she cares? No, I'm selling out stadiums. I'm Person of the Year. My pockets are doing just fine. I got a legion of fans. I don't need your silly trophy. And, Brendan, I'm just wondering if that kind of thought is coming back to college football. Because I'm sure it probably stunk for Bo Nix, but I'm sure he's way more upset that Oregon's not in the college football playoff than winning the Heisman Trophy. It's probably pretty cool for a guy who got chewed up and spit out, both him and Penix, and Jaden Daniels, by the way, who got chewed out and spit out from their original team. And hey, how about this? I'm sitting here potentially winning the Heisman. But I think the sting of losing it is a little bit off because I think every one of those guys sitting on that stage, those 4 guys, they're all millionaires. I mean, every single one of them are millionaires. And again, not a criticism, simply an observation. The water has passed on NIL. I lost that battle. But I just saw a lot of people like, what's with this All-American list? Like, I don't think any of these guys care. Am I an All-American? No, I don't know. What's my NIL deal? $400,000 for the season? Let's do it. I think that's where we're at. None of them want to play in the bowl game. I get it. Unless you're in the playoff. None of these guys want to play in the bowl game. A lot of opt-outs. And this is more and more of a business. And like I said, I've been Pollyanna-ish on this whole thing of like, I don't like it, but it's what it is becoming. And I was just watching that Heisman Trophy presentation, maybe hoping upon hope that there's an outside chance I might still win my bet from July. That didn't happen. But I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, is anybody more chill right now than Marvin? Like, he was not nervous at all. I don't know how much you watched it, Brendan, but like, dude, Marvin Harrison Jr. was just like, guys, I'm on a free ride right now. I made $1 million. My dad's also an NFL superstar. I'm going to the league, probably number 3 or 4 pick overall. I didn't win this silly little trophy. Darn. And I think the same thing about like the Walter Camp Award and the Bolitnikoff Awards. Like, I didn't win it. Oh.
I mean,
I still make $1 million.
I agree to an extent. I mean, I mentioned this with Chris yesterday. You can kind of tell. You knew right away. Bo's facial reaction told me he knew he wasn't going to win it.
He knew the moment he lost to Washington. He's like, nah, I ain't winning this
And
thing.
that's why you saw nothing but a smile on his face the whole way.
He's also an incredibly gracious human being. It's why we love him in Oregon forever.
Now go back and watch. Michael Penix bites at his lip right when it's announced and kind of has a, he thought he had a chance. And, I know you disagree, Justin, but Chris and I came out here yesterday and said, we know people in this sphere who are around us maybe shouldn't have Heisman votes that do.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And if I had one, it would have gone to Michael Penix. Call me wrong, but that's where I would have went.
I am not wrong. Just would Bo Nix have been in your top 3?
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, without a doubt. Got it. So if you didn't have Bo Nix in your top 3, kind of a clown.
As just crazy as it sounds.
Crazy as kind of a clown. Unless Bo Nix.
I would have gone Bo Nix number 2.
Yeah.
I like winners.
Yeah. Kind
3 losses is tough.
So if you didn't have Bo Nix in your top 3, kind of a clown, right? Wouldn't you say?
That'd be fair.
I don't know who would do that, but I'm just throwing it out there. All right, coming up next, we've got the big 3. We got Make or Miss. Jam-packed hour number 2 next. 620 Rip City Radio.
know. From the Goldberg-Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg-Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers drop another close one, this time to the LA Clippers last night at Crypto.com Arena, falling 132-127, right down to the wire. Anthony Simons had 38 points. Shaedon Sharpe added in 27. Scoot Henderson, career high 19, but the balanced scoring of the Clippers put them over the top. Tennessee Titans with an incredible comeback on Monday Night Football to stun the Miami Dolphins 28-21. Will Levis coming out party for the Tennessee Titans, but it was a Monday Night Football doubleheader as Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants get a win over the Packers 24-22. Hour number 3, we're going to talk a ton of hoops with friend of the program, Devon Pouncey. He's going to be joining the show in hour number 3. But the big 3 in hour number 2, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, it is hour number 2 of RCM. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Glad to be back. Ton of football talk in hour number 1. Do want to talk some NBA. And, I mean, it's not a hot take. It's just a reality of the Blazers that if this team ever does get healthy, and I don't know if they're ever going to be completely healthy throughout the entire year, maybe, they got a chance. They got a chance. They're in these ball games. And I think the reason why the Blazers have been in these ball games has been defensive effort. Now, you might be saying, Justin, the Clippers scored 132 points last night. How is it defensive effort? Yeah, but Clippers are going to score 132 points against a lot of teams. And also it helps that Anthony Simons came back. With him back, provides an offensive spark. But effort after loose balls, effort on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, there was, over the last 5 years, maybe even longer, there was an effort problem with the Blazers. There was. We never wanted to talk about it. It was kind of like the one thing, when it's almost Christmas time, right? And there's that one thing when the family comes around, like, we don't talk. Look, Cousin Kevin dropped out of, welding school. Like, we're not going to talk about this, okay? Like, it's like, Blazers scored a lot of points, and offensively they looked, but there were times where you're watching going like, is the effort there? Because, look, Damian Lillard had to put all of his effort into the offensive side of the ball, and then there was plenty of Blazer players over the years who were just kind of like, all right, well, Superman's going to go off. I'm just going to be right here. I'm probably not going to need me. If you are, I'm going to be right over here. And there was an effort problem. There just was. Now, it was masked by the fact that you had one of the most prolific scorers of his generation, and you had other guys that could get buckets at times, but, hey, let's be honest. When you think about Dame, C.J. McCollum, Robert Covington, Nurkic, who else am I missing in there? Even Al-Farouq Aminu, right? We go all through these guys.
Chief was a good defender, though. I love Chief. He was a solid defender. A little out of his skis.
Would you ever say, like, hey, good effort, like diving for loose balls? And
I would. I'd say if we're going to hate on Mo Harkless. Sorry. I know he's here.
Nah, we can't. He's back now. We love him again.
But I get your point.
There was a reason they called it Club Terry.
Yes.
Right? It was the country club. And they were winning, and they were winning games. And it, like, look, winners get sprinkles, and they were going to the playoffs. And the last 3 years, what they've done was nowhere close to as good as what they were under Terry Stotts. This is not a knock on Terry Stotts, but there was kind of one fatal thing with the Blazers back then. There's a bit of a lack of effort. And now maybe there was a method to the madness, maybe they're burning too much gas to bring back what happened yesterday on this particular program. Maybe they're burning too much gas in December and November. Who knows, right? But I'm watching this team, and it's like, all right, it's clear why they're not winning games. They're young. They're young, and they don't have the guys yet. They, like, say what you will about Russell Westbrook. When that guy wants to get a bucket, he can get a bucket. You know what I mean? Say, like, his three-point shooting is not what the league's top, but when Russell Westbrook gets the ball, first step, drives to the bucket, and, like, you saw a couple times in the first half, he, like, He was pretty much going again to Scoot, going like, "Watch, this is how you go get a bucket, kid."
He's like, "Hey, you were compared to me, but I'm."
But you know what I mean? Like when James Harden is frustrating as heck to watch as a basketball player, but you cannot deny his ability to get a bucket. You know what I mean? He's frustrating. Kawhi Leonard, like Paul George, all those dudes, like they have been in the league and at a high level for so long that they know, like, yeah, hey, 2 minutes to go in the game, we got this.
Yeah,
we're going to get buckets. The Blazers don't have that yet.
Right. And I think, going back to the defense, which, again, watching last night, and again, going back to what we said before the season started, this season is not about wins and losses for me exactly. This season is wanting to see the growth, the development. And Justin, what I have, and you mentioned it earlier or last week, we mentioned it yesterday, the defense is starting to keep them in games. And let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think it was possible to ever be competent defensively with Damian Lillard spearheading it?
Well,
or could you not flip that culture until he was gone?
There were two problems, right? There were two problems. One was kind of what you were just saying, is that, look, Dame had to put all of his effort on offense. Because, again, hey, we're down 7. Superman, you going to save us again? And he'd be like, yeah, I got it. Boom, boom, boom. Blazers walk out a winner. But he didn't, but he had to put all that effort on the offensive side of the ball. And, yeah, I think there was here was the biggest reason why, as silly as it is, yeah, we could talk about effort and all that stuff. They were just too small. They were just too small. Dame was an undersized guard. CJ was an undersized guard. It trickled. They brought in Norman Powell, 3-guard lineup. Anthony Simons coming off the bench, which Ant's great in his role now, not as, in part of a 3-guard lineup. And now they got some size. Problem is now they got some size. That size is very young. They're also dealing with a bunch of injuries. These are the growing pains, right? The growing pains are, you're right there with Milwaukee. You're right there with the Warriors. You're right there with the Clippers. You're right there. Right there is not good enough. Now, again, it's also December. We'll see what happens. Now, here's where I go back to what you were saying. I understand the mindset of can't quantify success with wins and losses with this particular team, which is very, very hard for me because I'm a winners get sprinkles kind of guy. At some point, though, you got to learn how to win. You know what I mean? At some point, we talk about development and getting these guys experience and all that. At some point, you got to learn how to win. At some point, you got to learn, like, hey, we're down 1. We need to take care of the basketball. Let's make smart plays. Let's execute. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. And unfortunately, the rebuild that was actually started 2 years ago was a little bit delayed because they hemmed and hawed about, hey, let's keep Dame and try to build around him instead of doing a fresh rebuild 2 years ago, which is what they should have done. But regardless, there was a play last night that I do want to talk about. I understand our obsession with replay. I understand it. I understand the obsession in sports with replay. There is no reason for us on the couch to be able to see a play and know that it should be red ball versus the white ball, but the officials on the court missed it, right? I get it. But when I watched last night, and maybe this is just me being a bit of a Blazer homer, which I am, but when I'm watching last night, and the Blazers down 3 with the ball, Ant's going ballistic, right? Who knows if he makes a shot? Who knows if they find a way to tie it? Who knows? But the Blazers, they were right there. And James Harden picks his pocket. And it turned out, and then the ball goes out of bounds, and the official, Blazer ball, because James Harden hit it, and it went out of bounds, which, I don't know. When did James Naismith invent basketball? Like, the 1800s? For, 150 years, you went to steal the ball went out of bounds, good effort, James, but the other team keeps the ball. When did James Naismith?
I'm looking it up.
Either way, I know it was a long time ago. Peach baskets and everything, right? Peach baskets.
1891.
Boom. From 1891 till, I don't know, like 4 years ago.
And Justin, he was given 14 days to come up with an indoor game that would be an athletic distraction.
Mm-hmm.
So not bad. Not a bad distraction. Some 100 and some odd years, 130, 40 years
You
later.
think we're ever going to see an actual new sport ever get invented? Like, that
Oh, my
actually, like,
goodness.
or like, are we done with, like, the new sports? Anyways, I don't have time to distract myself with that. That was my fault.
I'll say maybe. Quick answer. Maybe.
Quick answer. Maybe. I guess MMA kind of became a thing. That was invented in our lifetime. Put these guys in a cage.
Never say never.
But for 100-some years, you know what I mean? That was out of bounds. Offense keeps the ball. Anthony Simons didn't dribble it out of bounds. James Harden, but now that we can, with technology and with HD and with 4K cameras and with whatever, like, pixelated thing, and we can go to Secaucus and they're like, yep, I saw Ant's right pinky graze the ball game over, Clippers ball. It's like, is this what we wanted with replay? Again, I do all this with NIL, right? NIL in college and football. Is this what you wanted? Quarterbacks going like, yeah, it's been a good run, Ohio State, but I'm going to go to Nebraska, who is far worse than you, because I'm going to get a bag. Basketball replay. Is this what I know the whole reason there's frustration from fans when you can watch a replay at home and when it is blatantly a bad call. His toes on the line. He stepped out of bounds, right? But we have gotten so just minute about, like, nope, that was a tip, pinky, grazed it. We can slow it down. It's like, all right, are you happy now, replay people? The problem is football made it too easy. Football is a game that is designed to have replay as an element, right? Because there are clear knee down, fumble. All right, bring it back. Nope, that's an incomplete pass. Still haven't figured out quite what a catch is yet. That's still pretty confusing. But regardless, like, football is a sport that is made for replay. There are natural breaks in the game, right? I'm watching last night. I was like, yeah, his pinky did touch it. But, like, every level of basketball that doesn't have 17 4K cameras pointed at the court would be like, yeah, offense keeps the ball. Let's keep this game moving because it's kind of a fun game at this point in time. No, let's slow it down. Let's take 8 minutes. I know it wasn't 8 minutes, but it felt like it took forever. Let's slow it down. Let's kill all the momentum of this game, and let's go back to Secaucus, New York, and see, like, did Ant's pinky touch the ball? Yeah, his pinky touched the ball. It's like, is this what we wanted? Now, again.
You think so? You say it that declaratively? You think?
I'm a bit of a homer, and I might have been very tired when I was watching it as well.
No,
I might have also been, like,
I didn't
trying to go to bed and be like,
I didn't see
what are we doing here?
Yeah, I didn't see it go off, and
it was but that's my point, is let's just say, let's live in a world where his pinky did graze the ball.
Sure.
James Harden swiped at the ball went out of bounds. Let's Blazer ball, move forward. Is basketball better because of a pinky nail that Ant didn't trim the night before, right? Grazed the basketball. I was like, is basketball better because of it? And I would say no, but then again, it was our team that had to deal with it, and that's probably where my frustration lies. All right. I'm not frustrated with finally getting to the big three. A little bit on time today. Let's fire it up. Here we go. It's time for the big three. The Blazers. This Zion thing is it's kind of nuts, man. How long? Like again, I understand that the NBA is a massively big players league. How long before Zion says, "Get me out of New Orleans"? It's like it's going to happen soon, right? I've said it for years and years now about how the NBA has turned into a feelings-based league, that this league is based upon feelings, how players feel about their organization or how they feel about their teammates. There's more player movement in the NBA based on feelings than anything else. I'm not feeling the love. I'm not feeling this guy. I'm not feeling this coach. Get me out of here. I don't care how much time is left on my contract. I'm not feeling this rebuild. Heard that one. Nah, I don't like the way this rebuild makes me feel. I don't like the way this draft pick makes me feel. I know I got 4 years left, and I know I'm at a super max deal and getting paid more money than I could have ever imagined. But you know what? I don't like the way I feel. I would like to leave, please. How many times is the New Orleans Pelicans going to leak out that they are unhappy with Zion's weight and his fitness level before he finally says, you know what? I'm out. I'm out of this place. Man, by the way, because I love pettiness. I don't know why, but I do. How about Zion? Like a day after, Stephen A. Smith goes on his show. Is like, yeah, people in New Orleans have told me, like, when Zion comes into a restaurant, he will eat the table if it's there. And it's like, he like hammered like, what, 38 points last night? Something crazy like that? But in an hour from now, Devon Pouncey is going to join the show, so we're going to talk to him.
Let's have just a fun moment. And again, if it's a real disorder for Zion, I don't mean to make fun of that in the slightest. But Justin, let's just put set the record straight. How much food could that guy crush if he was hungry?
Because all right.
Like,
let's talk about the science behind it, because that's where there's two sides of this. Part of it is like, look, New Orleans, you know what you got. Zion is a once-in-a-generation type player when he wants to be. Now, when he wants to be seems to be few and far between sometimes. When he wants to be, he's as unstoppable as anybody in this league. Wouldn't you say? When Zion is rolling downhill,
yes.
Unstoppable.
Yes.
But you knew what you had early on.
Like, if he gave it to you 100% of the time, even Jokic would have a problem dealing with him. Embiid would have a problem dealing with him.
Which is why I think as basketball community, it's so frustrating. It's like, that guy could be a dude, but he's not. He's not physically there. So, but you know what you got. But there is the other side of it, which is, dude, it's your job. Like, literally your job is to be in shape. Like, it's part of it. Part of the gig is being in shape. So, Brandon, pull up the stats on Zion. Height, how tall is he? 6'3" or 6'4", 6'5"?
6'6".
He's 6'6". Let's guess. Because I don't know, what do they have his weight listed at?
He's listed at 284. I don't buy that for
he's north of 3 billion.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. And again, it's a world I live in. I live in the fitness and diet world. He's not lazy, right? You can't say that of anybody. If he was lazy, he couldn't get up and down an NBA court. We've all been out there with people who are lazy and have seen them try to play basketball. You get up and down the court twice and they're pulling hamstring. Like, he's not lazy. He is a physical specimen.
You let me run up and down the court like 3 times, I'd probably be dead, Justin. Let's
all right.
Yeah.
All seriousness, truth table here. Last time you have been at a full sprint, when was the...
Mexico, actually.
Okay, well...
On the beach.
Playing football? A little football on the beach?
So it was...
Race? Did you get a race?
No, so it was the day of the wedding. We decided to do an activity the morning of the wedding. We kind of were on a timetable, needed to get on the boat and be taken back across the lagoon, back to our side of... And we had just got done being on wave runners. I had realized as we were boarding the boat, Justin, like 1,000 feet away where the wave runners were, I left my slides and my flip-flops.
I'm aware.
And I was like, oh, the trip still has some life left in it. I can't just leave them. So in like 85-degree heat, like 80-degree humidity.
On the beach?
I just booked it down the beach, man. And then I get down there and I'm like, okay, I'm in better. Like, I make it down there real quick. I'm like, I'm in better shape than I thought. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to book it back. Just about halfway back, I'm like, I crawl onto the boat. I'm like, okay, that was the most physical activity I did in years. I think the sand makes it a little tougher.
Sand does make it tougher.
Felt a little like rocky.
If you don't fully sprint, people do not understand just how.
But no, it was a full sprint because I had people waiting on me, and the boat was honking the horn.
And that's the thing. That's the whole part of it. Like you said, I'm with you. If this is a disorder, I probably shouldn't make light. But you know, you're also a professional athlete, and we talk about professional athletes' physiques all the time. It's part of the gig. The amount of calories that he burns just being an NBA player. Because I don't know if we can all even comprehend just how much exercise goes into shooting around, practice, warming up. We haven't even gotten to the game yet. And I'm sure it's more than a lot of the average people do on a daily basis in terms of exercising. And then you play a basketball game. Like, the amount of calories burnt, like, I don't know how. He must eat so much. If they're, like, unhappy with his fitness level and, like, he is 6'6", north of 3 bills, who plays an anaerobic, not an aerobic, but an anaerobic sport, which is essentially sprint, stop, which burns so many calories when you work out that way. And that dude cannot get into not peak physical conditioning, adequate physical conditioning. Like the food intake has got to be
part of it,
at a level that we cannot even think about.
Part of it has to be culturally, and I don't mean to and I'll say this. You know, there are some really good, really fattening type things to eat in Louisiana, particularly in New Orleans.
Yes.
Justin, I imagine that there's a lot of all-you-can-eat crawfish boils and stuff like that down in...
Well, crawfish would be pretty good for you.
But hey, you know, I'm just saying...
It's the beignets that'll get you, you know?
But regardless...
It's the hush puppies.
Oh.
Hush puppies are so good.
This is not fair. I'm getting hungry. But, Justin, other than the time that they sent him to Portland...
Yeah.
To be in, like, nuclear winter and said, hey, Zion, go work out at Nike. Enjoy the salads that they have at the little, you know, Nike cafeteria. Yeah. Because when he came back from that, he was in the best shape of his life. So I just wonder,
there was rumblings that, like...
I just wonder if maybe and it's going to be so disappointing because if he gets traded, Justin... You will go back because that is a move that even I would have probably considered. Like, if that was really there and Scoot Henderson for Zion was really there, if he does, like, say, get moved by the deadline and he goes to, like, Orlando or somewhere where you're like, well, they just had assets and gave a lot up. That Damon Zion still would have been fun to watch.
Would have been real fun to watch.
We don't know.
But also, if we're into year 3 of Zion and they're still, like, talking about being in shape, like, it's not going to get fixed by year 4, right? A fresh uniform because we can sit here and I understand why you made the statement. And I understand why it's an easy joke. The whole, like, yeah, there is a lot of fattening food in New Orleans. Listen, if you are not disciplined with your diet in New Orleans, you're not going to be disciplined with your diet in Milwaukee, where there's a lot of cheese curds, right? You're not going to be disciplined with your diet in L.A., where there's nothing but kale smoothies and organic protein. You're still not going to be disciplined with your diet. You're going to find a way. You always will.
You don't think there's just, like, much more... again,
there's always a bad option to eat.
Okay,
there's always a bad, in my opinion, there's always a bad option to eat. He is rich enough to where he's like, hire a personal chef. They all have them. Hire a nutritionist. They plan out your meals. Clearly not on a plan. But also on the flip side, New Orleans keeps leaking this how we're unhappy with his weight stuff. He's going to be gone. He's going to be like, yeah, get me out of here. All that being said, Pounce joins us in a little under an hour from now. But let's dive into Make or Miss.
It bounces off the cross.
No.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. So I believe Bill Gates went to Washington but dropped out.
He and Paul Allen both dropped out.
So if Bill Gates and Bezos both decide like Washington football's winning everything, like nobody competes with those, but they're not. I don't think they really care about Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix as opposed to Phil Knight, who does care about Oregon athletics. But like, I guess maybe if Jordan decided like All right, it is Tuesday. You all know the drill, right? It is statistically the grumpiest day of the year. Like stats. This is stats. This isn't me. This is science. Because obviously on Monday, everybody hunkers down and gets prepared for the week ahead. By Wednesday, you're up and over the hump. It's called the hump day. And Tuesday, though, it's like, still a ways away. And also, I think this time of year, with the stress and the pressure, may bring on some grumpiness. So we, throughout the month of December, have not only continued to do Get Off My Lawn, but we have added a special little holiday twist because while I live with someone who is just skipping and running through the holiday season, because my wife loves it, it's never been my favorite. So instead of complaining at home, I'm going to save my complaints for all of you. You're welcome. It is now time for another holiday edition of Get Off My Lawn.
Time for Justin to get grumpy. Get Off My Lawn on RCM.
All right, brand names. Get off my lawn. What am I talking about? Well, like most people, I do my holiday shopping on this here phone. I get on the phone, and I pop in an order, and then the fine folks from Amazon and FedEx and UPS and the Postal Service and all those hard-working men and women out there who are driving around dealing with traffic and dealing with weather just to get the packages that we need so that we can get them wrapped and under the tree for a holly jolly Christmas. They're out there working their tail off. No, I'm not complaining about them. I'm not complaining about any of the fine folks who are working their tail off throughout the holiday season. I'm talking about these brand name companies that decide that in the month of December and really in the month of November, that the packaging that they are going to be sending to my house needs to be big, bold letters, their name brand. And I can't say the name brand on the air because wife might be listening. But I purchased something for my lovely wife. It was being delivered to our home, a home that we share. Most people do this. And you would think that maybe there would be some discreet packaging. You know, like the packaging they talk about with those certain medications. It's delivered in discreet packaging, if you know what I'm talking about. Well, you know what? Maybe in the month of December, if you are a name brand, maybe don't splatter your name across the cardboard box that is being delivered to my house in December, because I don't know, maybe potentially it's a gift. Now, I realize that doesn't say exactly what is in said package, but I think it gives a pretty good idea. So to the name brands out there, and you know who you are, and even though I can't call you out by name, because once again, my wife may be listening to this particular segment, I don't know, maybe just random blank cardboard box. And here's the other thing. Because it's terrible that porch pirates exist in our world. And by the way, talk about the lowest form of criminal, right? You porch pirates with no shame.
Enjoy my ring.
Yeah, but even then, it's like,
Then.
they wear the COVID mask and it's like, and the sunglasses. So porch pirates exist in our world. You know what? You know what maybe we shouldn't do for the porch pirates? Maybe let's not give them a big advertisement of what they're trying to steal off my porch. Now, luckily, nothing got stolen off of my porch. And luckily, I saw the package as I was pulling up yesterday, enough to tell my wife to divert your eyes. You can't see what's over there. But I don't know. Companies, I understand, look, advertising is important, and we appreciate anybody that advertises, especially on this regular program. It's why we are able to do our jobs. So I understand that marketing and advertising and name recognition and brand recognition are all, but maybe let's just pump the brakes a little bit in the month of December so that when a package gets delivered to the front door, and maybe we're not there to greet it. Because why? I don't know. The Amazon guy is stressed out. He's got 15 other packages to deliver in the next hour, and he doesn't have time to be there in a perfect window for me to get it and put it in the closet and hide it before I get a chance to wrap it. Terribly. So maybe let's just try a regular old cardboard box. You know? And just for the month of December. And if you're like, well, Justin, the inventory, really? Because the fine folks at Starbucks managed to put red cups everywhere just for the month of December, and then they go back to the normal cups. So how about you guys do the opposite? January through October, and even half of November, if I order something from a name brand, go ahead. Put the name on the side of the cardboard box. put the logo, all that stuff. But maybe, just maybe, for the month of November and December, knowing that probably going to be a gift, let's just try a regular old cardboard box. You got to have a couple laying around. You know what I mean? Maybe let's just take the name brand off of the cardboard box so that A, you don't spoil somebody's Christmas surprise, and B, let's not give a heads up to any of these porch pirate jerks out there either.
So you, if it was ordered, and this, it shouldn't, was it ordered off Amazon?
It was ordered off of this particular brand's website.
So that's the tough part because
But they got to know.
But I do, like I said, I swear by it because I do all my Christmas shopping on Amazon because there's an option that's free where you can click and go, hide what's inside, put in cardboard box, because sometimes there are things that come in a box that they're just like, oh, it's easier just to show up a label on it and go.
Yeah.
But like Christmas gifts this week, I've had 2 that have arrived. Plain cardboard boxes. I unwrap it, and then there you go. Good to go.
Well, guess what? When you order it off of said company's website.
Get on with the Bezos. Like, he's just better than everybody else, I guess.
Maybe, what if there's maybe Cyber Monday deals? I'm just saying.
I no
I go
shame
on
in
to
that. I think it's horrible.
Said website of said company. Also, it's just easier for me. Like, I go there, like, boom,
I hear ya.
order here, got it, and send it to the house. And all I'm just saying is maybe let's just, let's just find some regular boxes to put the stuff in during Christmas instead of, plastering your logo everywhere. Because I don't know, maybe somebody's getting a Christmas gift. That's all I'm saying. So congrats to Amazon because they figured it out. But, like, I don't know. And, again, I really want to call this company out. But I don't because, again, I don't know who's listening. And I don't want to ruin the surprise any more than it is. But all I know is I pulled up yesterday and I was like, look away. And Kelly's like, what? I'm like, you look away. Because I could see it from down the road. I could see it on my porch. And I'm like, this is not good. So, to the name brand companies out there who strap or slap their logo on the cardboard boxes that they are delivering to my front door for the month of November and December, knowing that they're potentially gifts, I say to you, get off my lawn. All right, hour number 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio.
And here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trail Blazers fall to the LA Clippers last night at Crypto.com Arena. 132-127 the final score. Anthony Simons was on fire, though. 38 points for Ant. Shaden Sharp added in 27. He has been on a run the last couple of weeks. Scoot Henderson got the ball to go in the bucket. 19 points, career high for the rookie. But the Clippers, just too much firepower. 4 potential Hall of Famers on that team. They're going to win a lot of games. Blazers go down 132-127. Tennessee Titans get a comeback win on Monday Night Football to stun the Miami Dolphins 28-27. But that wasn't the only game of the night, as the New York Football Giants take down the Green Bay Packers 24-22. Tommy DeVito gets the win at quarterback for the Giants. Coming up in 20 minutes, we're going to talk some more hoops with friend of the program, Devon Pouncey. We have got the RCM mailbag, but oh boy, people in Seattle are fired up and not happy. Hour number 3 of RCM starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The most transparent show in Portland is Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers, here on 620 Rip City Radio.
As I just mentioned in the update, Devon Pouncey joins us coming up in 20 minutes. We are going to have an RCM mailbag. It was an interesting week that was in the NFL, as there's some bad football being played. There's also some really good football being played. San Francisco 49ers have figured some things out after a bit of a 3-game skid and dealt with some injuries. Now, obviously, with all their weapons back, Brock Purdy looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Deebo Samuel is, I think, the weapon of weapons right now for them, and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, and they get all the good defensive players as well. And the San Francisco 49ers, while it wasn't the blowout that maybe some thought, because it was a 14-point spread against the Seattle Seahawks, with Geno Smith out with a groin injury and the Drew Lock show showing up, but the 49ers took down the Seahawks for the second time in 3 weeks. It was 28-16, and if you watch the game, the Seahawks really had no particular chance to win this game. If you were a neutral observer, you go like, it's a 14-point spread, you're with your backup quarterback. But if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan, you're going like, all right, what's going on with this team? Because it looked as though things were going pretty well. Not great, but pretty well post-Russell Wilson breakup, right? It was doom and gloom time a couple of years ago. Russell Wilson, the greatest player in Seattle Seahawks history. It's not particularly close. He decides, I'm leaving. And there was always kind of a weird relationship, especially the last couple of years, and it felt like it finally came to a head. And I think for most Seahawks fans, while they were upset with Russell Wilson, they're probably like, it's probably time to move on. All right, let's trust in Pete. Let's see what happens. You got a 1-year gap, and let's bring in Geno Smith. Boom. They go 9-7. They make the playoffs. They show some promise with some young players. Start off the season. So it's a season 3-1. Take a loss to the Bengals, take a loss to the Ravens, but for the most part, up until a month ago, Seahawks, not too shabby. We were talking about, like, were they the second best team potentially in the NFC behind the Philadelphia Eagles? That's obviously not the case anymore. And since then, the Seahawks have now lost 5 of their last 6. They've got a game against the Eagles coming up. That doesn't look too promising. They have got a road trip to Tennessee, who figured some things out last night. That's on the road. Then they got a New Year's Eve battle against the Steelers. Steelers stink. And then they get the Cardinals. But by the time they end up facing the Eagles and the Titans, it might all be over for the Seattle Seahawks. And so some may wonder, again, the question that is going to be posed, is Pete Carroll still the guy? And now I don't like that we have ageism kind of in sports, right? That when certain guys get to be a certain age, you wonder like, hey, he's 70-some years of age. Does he still have it? Like we do it in sports. But But you're starting to see the rumblings, especially with the way that this team has been performing, the decision to keep Jamal Adams and to trade away the future for Jamal Adams, who has been an absolute bust in Seattle. Please don't make fun of how my wife looks, Jamal Adams, but he's been a bust.
He comes after media, so you better be careful.
Yeah, I know. Look, I don't know if he listens to this show. I'll stay off of Twitter, but he's been an absolute bust. The guy they thought they were getting from the New York Jets when they made that move a couple of years ago, that is not the guy that they have. And so Jamal Adams has been kind of a bust. The Geno Smith thing worked. It was a nice Band-Aid, but let's be honest. That's a rebound relationship. It's a rebound relationship. I think Geno Smith, the story is great. I love the fact that he made the Pro Bowl, and I like the fact that he has been fairly successful, and he got himself a nice 3-year contract with a pretty good bag for a guy that kind of got screwed by the New York Jets coming right out of college. But if we're being honest, looking forward, you're going to have to compete with the 49ers for the foreseeable future. Now, who knows what happens when Brock Purdy ultimately gets paid, but you're going to have to compete with the 49ers for a while now because they've found their guy at quarterback, and he's pretty good, and he's not old. So is Geno Smith going to be your guy? And then, again, you have to wonder, is Pete Carroll going to be a reliable head coach for the next 4 to 5 years? So I've just curious. I went back and I looked. It's kind of amazing when you think about from where the Seattle Seahawks used to be. And again, for those 12s since 12, and you know who I'm talking to, right? The history of the Seahawks pre-2010, other than a trip to the Super Bowl with Mike Holmgren, hasn't been the most storied franchise. Since Pete Carroll took over in 2010, he has missed the playoffs 3 times. Just 3. He missed it in 2011 at 7-9. Then Russell Wilson became the quarterback, and they made the playoffs every year up until 2017, where they had still a winning record. They were 9-7 in 2017, but missed the playoffs. And then in 2021, that was the year where Russell broke his finger, and all hell broke loose, and they went 7-10. And then Russell Wilson breaks up, and then they made the playoffs last year. But is the NFL, or as they say in the NFL, this is a National Football League, is what have you done for me lately? And where the organization is at. And I'm seeing some rumblings because Pete Carroll has always brought in, let's just say, interesting personalities. He's one of the best players coaches I've ever been around in terms of managing, I don't want to say crazy, but kind of managing crazy. He's always had some interesting personalities, whether it was Earl Thomas, whether it was Michael Bennett, whether it was Marshawn Lynch, whether it was Richard Sherman, and now it's Jamal Adams as DK Metcalf. Now, it's one thing when you're winning games. It's easy to kind of have characters and guys that play on the edge and play emotional and all that stuff. When you lose 5 out of 6, including 2 to the 49ers, 1 on Thanksgiving night, and you're staring down a potential 6-game losing streak, because who knows if, I don't think they're going to win even at home against Philadelphia. If they do, then we'll be having a whole different conversation next week. But I don't think they're going to win that game. Going to Tennessee is going to be a bit of a chore. Steelers on New Year's Eve, who knows where either of those franchises are going to be at that particular point. But it is the rumblings in the conversation, which used to be a whisper. Hey, is Pete Carroll the right guy? They're becoming more conversational tone of, is it time to make a change? Is it time to look for the future? I don't know if that's exactly it, but there's no other way to say it. The last month for the Seahawks has been a mess. You have the 5 out of 6 losses, 2 of which, again, to the 49ers. Now, a lot of teams are going to lose to the 49ers. The 49ers are a wagon, but it's a rivalry game. That's still how Seahawks fans will always measure their team is, are we competing with the 49ers? So you've got that. Then you had the whole Jamal Adams thing with the Twitter, and it's on top of it, Jamal Adams has been a complete non-factor. And you kind of sacrificed a bit of your future, right? A bunch bunch of draft picks to go bring this guy in. Easy to say that was a failure. Then it came out after the game, I don't know if you saw this, Brendan, where a couple of the 49er players were saying, we were purposely trying to antagonize DK Metcalf. Because we know that if you get under his skin, he's not going to stay composed. He's going to lose it. And sure enough, who got kicked out of the game? Well, Diamador Lenore, former Oregon player, came in, third man in. They pushing, shoving. DK, peace out, DK. Hope you enjoyed it because you just got booted out of the game. So you've got penalty issues, which Pete Carroll's talked about a bunch, right? You even go back to that loss to the Cowboys. So many penalties in that game. I think they had like 136 yards in penalties in that game. Penalty issues, discipline issues, personnel issues, maybe a potential quarterback conversation to be had moving forward because, again, I like Geno Smith. I root for guys like Geno Smith. The fact that he is, the whole, hey, they wrote you off and I didn't write back. It's a great line, but now the rubber's meeting the road. And as I said earlier when talking, NFL's not for everybody, right? Starting quarterback isn't for everybody. It's a privilege. It's not a right. But it is going to be interesting to see where this particular ownership group that we are very familiar with down here, where they go with regard to the future of Pete Carroll. I would be shocked if Jody even hints at potentially replacing Pete Carroll. But it's been fascinating when you look at, since sadly Paul Allen passed away and then Jody Allen became the executive of his estate and the estate owns both franchises, Seahawks have been fine, right? They've been winning games. They've been, like I said, they've been going to the playoffs. 2018, 10-6. 2019, 11-5. 2020, they went 12-4. 7-10. Injury-riddled year of 2021, bounce back last year, make the wild card at 9-8. They go to the playoffs, and Seahawk fans, and I know this because I'm friends with them, talk to me and go, why you guys don't like Jody Allen so much? What's the problem? We got no problems up here. And it's like, yeah. Very curious to see what happens. Missed the playoffs a couple of times. Now, people in Seattle are already yelling at the Mariners ownership to sell their team. They're not happy. But I'm very curious if all of a sudden the Seahawks start to dip a little bit, if maybe you start hearing some rumblings up north of the mighty Columbia River and beyond of, is it time for Jody Allen to sell the Seahawks too? Because we know that it's not just the Blazers that are going to be up on the sales block. It's also the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, will somebody think of the Turtles, for crying out loud? Those little sea turtles that could probably all be saved if they would just sell the Blazers to Phil Knight right now. If they could just think of all the marine life that could be saved. But they have some potential issues on, like, boy, if they don't win at least 500 in their last 4 games and keep their head above water, it can get pretty loud up there in Seattle. All right, we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk some hoops. Blazers, again, it's close, but it's not horseshoes or hand grenades, so close doesn't count. You still take the loss. And some other interesting things going on around the NBA. In-season tournament banner is going to be flying at Crypto.com Arena. LeBron James hoisted the trophy. We'll talk to Devon Pouncey, friend of the program. He is also the basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix. He joins us next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, another competitive game, but sadly another loss for the Portland Trail Blazers, dealing with injuries, dealing with youth, dealing with these growing pains. It's also very early on in the season, but they go down to the Clippers last night. But there's a lot of other stuff going on in the NBA. The Spurs are absolutely atrocious, even with Wembanyama. The Pelicans are once again leaking out nutritional frustrations with Zion, and the Lakers are going to be raising a banner. That's right. It's going to be a different color and a different shape, but they're going to be raising a banner for winning the in-season NBA tournament. Joining us now to talk about all things NBA and hoops, friend of the program. He is the basketball analyst of the Rip City Remix. He is also the basketball analyst of Rip City Mornings. Devon Pouncey back on the Big Show. Morning, Pounce. How we doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning. How you feeling?
I'm doing fantastic. Couldn't be better, especially talking to you, talking some hoops. Let's dive into this now. Pounce, you know I am biased. Right, I am biased. I don't like LeBron. I don't have very good reasons, but I don't like him. And I really don't like the Lakers. So with my bias, when I see the news that the Lakers are going to be raising a banner for winning the in-season NBA tournament, I instantly laughed. I rolled my eyes audibly, gasped, and like, really? With that storied historic program, they're going to be raising the 2023 in-season. You're a basketball fan. You also grew up loving Kobe. You grew up loving the Lakers. What is your thoughts when what do you think the late great Kobe Bryant would think of the Lakers raising the banner next to one of his championships of the in-season NBA tournament?
I don't think Kobe Bryant would be a fan of it at all. Rest in peace. But and I came on here a couple weeks ago and I talked about how I didn't really want this in-season tournament to like spark sort of this like legacy conversation in regards to LeBron winning anything that's not an NBA championship, and this isn't that. So I understand where kind of the frustration sets in. That I do in LeBron's favor, though, and paying respect to LeBron, I do want to acknowledge, though, something that LeBron kind of talked about with Malika Andrews in the postgame when he mentioned being the first person to do something, and, you know, how records are meant to be broken, but being the first to do something can't be taken away, and him being the first to win this in-season tournament championship, which, again, I hate for, like, legacy conversations. I do think there's something to be said that LeBron, at however many years old he is now, when he first came into the league, we wouldn't have expected to be having this conversation about LeBron James. And whether him winning this tournament and going as hard as he did in this tournament was intentional or coincidental, only LeBron James could be writing the story for himself the way that he's doing, knowing that he wants to own a team eventually in Las Vegas, having this in-season tournament take place in Las Vegas, going out and winning it. And I don't think, whether it's coincidental or intentional, that it's happening the way that it's happening, whether you like it or not. LeBron James writing his story out in the way that it's being written out, it's just only something that LeBron James could do. So I think there's something that could be said for that. But as far as banners and legacies in any other way, especially like for debate, I don't care to see a banner, an in-season tournament banner in the Crypto.com arena next to all of those NBA championships that Kobe and Shaq and Magic and Kareem, and even the one that LeBron won in the bubble. I'll give him that one. But this one, it just don't quite hit the same.
It is interesting. You mentioned kind of whether it was intentional or coincidental. I think we both know, Pounds, this was 100% intentional because as much as I get frustrated, as much as I get annoyed by LeBron James, I will give him credit. Nobody has understood the moment better than LeBron James. Nobody has played in the middle of their career with their legacy in mind more than LeBron James. Not a criticism, an observation, because you mentioned the bubble, right? By 3 weeks into the bubble, everybody was ready to go home. Right? Everybody was ready to go home. They're like, yeah, we came back, we played basketball, but there's no fans here. There's this weird video board. I'm tired of this same golf course or this fishing hole that Chris Paul has been at. And everybody by about 3 weeks in was ready to go home from the bubble. LeBron James was, no, we're winning this thing because if there's only going to be one bubble championship, it's going to be mine. Play-in game. Remember the first play-in game? It was him versus Steph, and it was for the right to be the 8th seed. which is nothing. But yet LeBron was like, yep, there's going to be a first play-in game, and LeBron James is going to win it, and now you can add the in-season tournament to him. Nobody has played with legacy in mind more than LeBron James, which I tip my cap to him for that.
Yeah, I respect it. I mean, he's up for the challenge, however that challenge may look. but he's up for it. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I totally respect that. Again, anybody that I agree with you that I would say I would lean more so that this was intentional and that he wanted to go out and win this tournament, and you could see in his efforts and in the results because he ultimately went out and got the job done. But even still, to be able to create a narrative such as LeBron is creating for himself and then go be able to stand on that, whether we like it or not, or whether we care so much or not, or whatever the circumstances were with the bubble and the play-in and the in-season tournament, like, there's still got to be something to be said for the fact that he continues to do it. And at the age he's doing it, I heard somebody say the other day, he is the only player in NBA history that has been the youngest player in the league before and the oldest player in the league before. Something's got to be said for that. The fact that he's still creating this legacy in the way that he's doing and writing this story in such a unique way, like, I got to give him some credit for that. I got to give him some credit regardless if I like the fact that, oh, it's an in-season tournament or him getting a banner doesn't mean anything or it shouldn't be put next to all of those Laker championship banners because I'm not the biggest fan of that in particular, but the story arc that this dude has created for himself, you got to be pretty special to actually follow through on it, and he's done that.
Probably didn't need to pop the champagne afterwards, though. Yeah, I mean, you got 500,000 in Vegas.
You're in Vegas, Justin. You're in Vegas. Yes, pop the champagne. That I don't have I got more of a problem with a banner than I do the champagne.
Pop the champagne at the club, okay? Go to Brendan. Where's your club? Is it XS?
Oh yeah, that's the spot.
Yeah, go to XS. Up on top of the wind, pop your champagne up there, but the whole with the goggles and
but
like
you got to remember, he had to go see Bronny the next day. So he had to pop the champagne as soon as the game was over because he had to get out of Vegas and go see Bronny's debut in L.A. It's all a story arc, Justin. It's all a story arc.
Devon Pouncey, he is the basketball analyst of the Rip City Remix. He's a friend of the program, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, overall, let's go big picture because I'm thinking about this, Pounce. I'm old enough to remember when Major League Baseball started interleague play, and everybody was like, nah, this is kind of a joke. And then all of a sudden, now it's just kind of what we do. I remember Thursday Night Football in the NFL, the first season of Thursday Night Football, and the talking heads like me were like, oh, this is a joke. This is terrible football. Nobody cares about this. What's the NFL Network? And now it's just kind of what we do. So I'm wondering, right, I didn't see a need for the play-in tournament. I didn't really get the play-in tournament as it was going on. Even this weekend, kind of tuning in, I still was caring more about the NFL, but I'm wondering, is this in about 5, 6, 7 years just going to kind of be one of those things that we do? Because I don't think the commissioner's given up on this. I think he loves it. But just in year one of the in-season tournament, success, too early to tell, or probably something we didn't need?
I think I liked it. I liked it,
Yeah.
Justin. I liked it a lot, actually. And listen, the results and what the climax of this thing or how big it'll ultimately become, you're never going to get that in year one. But it was the actual product on the floor that I liked more than anything, that I do think can translate to people just caring about the NBA more during this time of the year. You're still competing against a long-standing tradition of the NFL that dominates this part of the year, quite frankly, whether you look at it from TV ratings, interest, whatever the case may be. But I do think that the competition that was out there in the in-season tournament, the quality of play, the production, and even the storylines throughout, November, especially when you have these Tuesday and Friday games where folks are playing to get a spot in the in-season tournament. I actually thought it was pretty cool. I'm even dealing with kind of, the same similar thing with the Showcase Cup in the G League. And I think now that I've kind of been able to be a part of that story arc and watching the Rip City Remix, for example, play, in this West Region pod of the NBA G League to try and play in Orlando here next week, for the Showcase Cup for the NBA G League, I think it's actually a good thing to have early on in the season to be able to create some interest around the sport during this time of the year that we know isn't like the prime time for the season to have interest, because later on down the line you'll still have a playoff race, you'll still have All-Star Weekend, and then ultimately the NBA playoffs, the G League playoffs, whatever it may be, and a champion will ultimately be crowned. So as far as just putting out good product early on in the season that will be able to bring more interest as time progresses, I think that this worked out absolutely great.
Devon Pouncey joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I'm curious your thoughts on Zion, and let me preface it this way. It came out once again over the weekend that apparently the Pelicans are unhappy with his fitness level. Pouncey has been a story with regard to Zion throughout his entire career. Now, to Zion's credit, which again, because I respect grudges and I respect the pettiness, next night, after Stephen A. Smith goes on his show and starts saying he would eat the table if they would let him, he drops in 36, and they beat the dog out of the Timberwolves last night, 121-107. So I respect the fact that clearly Zion was listening, but it's also kind of the frustration with this guy. When you have seen his career and you go in like bunches where you're like, that guy could be the most dominant player in the league. He could be. No offense to Giannis or Embiid or any of these guys, but when Zion gets going downhill, he could be one of the best guys and maybe the most dominant guys in this league. But it does seem to be a fitness issue with him, and which makes me question this. And again, I'm not in his head and I'm not in his heart, Pounce, but we're just talking ball here. How much do you think Zion Williamson loves basketball, or is just basketball what he does?
Ooh, I don't think it's so much about how much it is that he loves basketball. Justin, he's a big dude. He's been a big dude since we've come to know him. When he was in high school, when he was blowing out his shoes at Duke, like this isn't like a new issue where he just kind of blew up overnight. Type of a situation. So I don't want to say that it's more of a passion thing in regards to him caring or not caring about basketball because his fitness levels fluctuate or his weight fluctuate, because I think naturally he's always been this. He's just been so athletic at this size that it's like, oh my gosh. But that's a little bit harder to sustain over an 82-game season when you're doing all the traveling and you're doing all of these things. I think it's great. I don't particularly care for like Stephen A. being the guy that's going at Zion Williamson in the way he does. I think it's great to have guys like Charles Barkley and Shaq commenting on it, because those are two dudes that dealt with very similar issues throughout their career, because they've always been bigger dudes and have always had to kind of take an extra step to keep their fitness in check, or things got a little bit out of hand for them. So I think the mentorship aspect for Zion is definitely needed, because naturally, like, this is who he's always been, is a really big, heavier guy that is just freakishly athletic for the amount of pounds that he weighs and for how big he's always been. So I don't think it's more so a question of whether or not he loves basketball or basketball is just something that he does. I think he does truly love basketball. I think that he's just a big guy that has always had a struggle with keeping his weight in check. And so you kind of got to constantly be on top of that, because he can lose track of that relatively easier than most, especially in the NBA, where you kind of have this body type that's expected, where you want to be more leaned out or, kind of long and wiry or cagey. And, when we talk about like what a basketball body is, he's never had that since we've known who he is. It's part of the reason why he's so special, is because he's able to do things that we expect guys with basketball bodies to be able to do at his size. So I just think he needs the constant mentorship and the constant reminder to keep himself in check and to sort of keep the weight in check, because he obviously can blow up quite a bit rather easily, because he's just naturally a big boy.
I mean, it's interesting because you've been around enough NBA guys, Pounce, to kind of know like the dedication, especially when you have the means, right? When you have the financial means, like the dedication that these guys have, not just to. It's not like New Year's is coming around. It's like, I got a resolution. I'm going to drop 10 pounds, go run a couple laps around the track or hit the treadmill. Like these guys, their body is their investment, right? It is the dedication to diet, to fitness, to working out, to fundamentals and all that stuff when you're a top-level guy is just – it's amazing that this is still kind of a thing for a guy. And I get it. There are certain guys that just – look, I look at a piece of Pizza Pounce and I swell up. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I am not someone who is gifted in that way, but also – if I had the means to just have a nutritionist and a chef personally just make all my meals for me, boy, it would be a whole lot easier. That's just why I wonder, like, because I think there are a lot of guys like Zion who, when he was 15, was a internet superstar, right? And just like, does he really love the Does he love basketball? Does he love the process of basketball? Because you see certain guys who are just like, no, this is it. This is what I live for. This is my life. Almost to like the complete other side of the spectrum, like Kevin Durant, who doesn't seem to have a personal life at all. All he does is love basketball.
Yeah, but guys, I think that's actually more slim to none than you might be giving a little bit of credit. Because, yes, I have been around a lot of NBA guys, and I also know that a lot of NBA guys have their own vices as well, if you will.
Yeah.
However that may look, that does not particularly lean into the narrative like, oh, my gosh, this guy loves basketball. Again, I think a lot of the guys that make it to the professional level, while, yes, you all have to work hard and respect Zion, I still think he works hard, even with the fluctuation of weight, to a degree that most can't relate to. But I will say, usually, guys that are able to make it to that level have some kind of a gift, sort of God-given gift as well, every bit as much as their ability to go out and lock in and be disciplined and go out and work hard as well. And sometimes that gift just gets them to a level that most couldn't fathom and most wouldn't be able to get to because most just don't have that gift. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that there's the other side of the game of it as well where, while, yes, we have the stories of the greats that lock in and work super hard, I don't think that's the story of, like, majority of the league, if you will. I think majority of the guys, everybody has to work hard to a degree, yes, but at the same time, guys got gifts at that level. And a lot of the time, they lean on those gifts more so than they lean on them just having the ultimate discipline or being the ultimate workhorse to be able to get them to the point of having some of the success that they've had.
Devon Pouncey joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. A couple of minutes left, Pounce. I want to talk about the Blazers. It's close calls for the Blazers, right? They've been in a handful of these games, even dealing with, obviously, a bunch of injuries, but they've been in these games. Coming down to the wire, though, a play here, a play there, and, like, that's just life in the NBA. And we've talked about seemingly each and every week when you come on the program, Pounce, about how these growing pains can be painful. And these are kind of the growing pains that they're going with. But I don't know about you. I'm starting to see it. I know they're 6-16, and I don't want to, like, Jay-Z said, right, moral victories are for minor league coaches. So I'm not going to sit here like, oh, good effort, but I can kind of see it there with the Blazers, especially now that Ant has come back. Boy, Shaden has really found his spot.
Yeah.
On this team. It just seems like, again, with the youth of this team and the injuries that they're a play away here and there, and sometimes that's the margin of being back in the lottery or being in the playoffs in the NBA. But I'm starting to see it. What have you been seeing from the Blazers these last couple of weeks, especially with Shaden Sharp? Because he's on a run.
He is special. I mean, just flat out, Shaden Sharp is special. It's really good to see Anthony Simons back, and those two together as a two-headed monster look really good. We still haven't even really truly been able to see this Blazer team consistently be healthy. I mean, you even look at last night's game, they're missing a bunch of guys. They're missing Jeremy Grant. They're missing a bunch of guys still. So, like, Anthony Simons has only been back for 3 games, and now Jeremy Grant's out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we still haven't been able to see this product fully. We've seen so much in spurts. Shaden has probably been the only consistent thing of the Portland Trail Blazers that we can really speak of. I mean, even down to, like, again, it's the beauty of having a team like the Remix here. I've been watching and calling Moses Brown games with the Remix, and he has been dominating at the G League level. And then he was finally able to get a pretty decent opportunity to play some significant minutes yesterday. And what do you know? He goes out there and he gets 12 rebounds. Well, he's been a double-double machine at the G League level. He can't get less than 12 rebounds when he's playing for the Rip City Remix. Obviously, he scores a lot more with the Remix as well than he did last night. But still, like, the continuity and the fact that this team is in rebuild mode, the only thing that I would say that has been consistent for them this year when you consider the fluctuation of guys going back and forth between the remix and the Blazers, especially health more than anything. The only constant really has been how special Shaedon Sharpe is becoming rather quickly. And with that, you definitely, if you're a Blazer fan, I think that you're happy to see that. You know what kind of player Anthony Simons is. He's coming right back and getting in his groove, scoring at a high level as you already expected him to do. It was good to see Scoot have what I would say is his best game. But for me, it's always about can they compete and can they stay in games right now. If they can do that, I think there's so much that they can still build on being that. They haven't even really been able to put a full-on healthy team out there onto the floor yet this season.
Devon Pouncey is the basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix, and you can check him out on KPTV 12 for the Remix games. He's also a basketball analyst for the Portland State Vikings. He's also a basketball analyst for the Pacific University Boxers, and he is the basketball analyst for this particular program, Rip City Mornings.
Right.
Hey, Pounce, always a pleasure, bud. Great talking to you. Have a terrific week, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week, bud.
You know it. Likewise.
There you go, Devon Pouncey, boys and girls. We have got a break, and then we have got the RCM mailbag. That is next, 620 Rip City Radio. By the way, if you want to participate in the RCM mailbag, you can throw an X post on X at Justin Myers 541 at B_slot. Or if you want to get into the YouTube chat, saw somebody said my complaining about the champagne celebration in the in-season tournament is the most petty thing ever. I completely agree.
Wait, it's more petty than my pettiness towards Jonathan Smith that will not run out for at least 12 months.
Yeah, well, because I think there's an emotional investment there,
Gotcha.
and I think most people can understand. My LeBron hate is Tom Petty, right? Won't back down. That's how petty.
Rest in peace to the man.
R.I.P. to Tom Petty, but it won't back down. Yeah. So to whoever in the YouTube chat that was like most petty thing ever, I completely agree. It is. It is 100% the most petty thing ever. Will I shy away from it? No. I embrace the pettiness. There's nothing to not like about LeBron James on paper. But he annoys me, and I'm petty about it. Sorry about it. Never denied it.
And it's not like...
Never denied it.
It's not the most... It's not like Justin is, Tom Hanks on an island with that opinion either. Like,
I know.
LeBron's kind of a polarizing athlete. You either love him or hate him. More times than not, he gets lumped into, well, you're a LeBron guy or a Jordan guy. You can't be both, right? So that alone creates division.
And it creates pettiness.
Yes,
and I am
100%.
100%. Look, has a guy had an off-the-field issue? Never. Has he created a media empire and made himself nearly a billionaire? Yeah.
Even
Has
Kobe
he been
couldn't.
a guy, like we talked about with Mike Richmond last week? He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16 and lived up to the hype, right? He's the second greatest player of all time. Yet, I'm still petty. Why? Because I sit here on a radio in Portland, Oregon, and he's a gajillionaire. Right, that being said, let's open up the mailbag.
It's time for the RCM mailbag. With any question, any topic, Justin can't duck the tough question. What do we have first?
All right, Justin, opening up the big mailbag today.
Yes.
Starting with you, kind of an interesting one here, but one I'm curious to see what your answer is. Do you prefer in your house windows that move up and down or left to right?
I think up and down. I think up and down's the way to go.
See, I'm a left to right guy.
I don't know if
I hate up and down windows.
You hate up and down windows?
I do.
Interesting. I don't. I'm trying to think in my house.
Like the easiest ones for me
two
to
that
open
are left to right.
are the ones that slide, like the ones like that, rather than the ones. I feel like it's just always inconvenient to pull it back down after you.
Yeah, sometimes the springs on those bad boys are a little tight.
Compared to the left
wound.
to right, which really don't take quite as much. Oh, we had this debate in our house. We realized that we have about an even 50-50 split of vertical windows versus horizontal ones. And I'm like, why are we not all horizontal? But horizontal takes up more space. Vertical is taller. All that stuff.
I'll be perfectly honest. I've never once thought about it.
Yeah, see, this is
I've
what the
never once
mailbag
thought about
does,
it, which
man.
I'm glad you brought it up. But if you were to ask me, which one I prefer, I prefer the up and down as opposed to the left and right.
Interesting. Okay.
Because, I think you get like the full window open experience with the up and down. Left to right, you still got half a window that's closed, right, at the sill, at the window sill. If you're going to put out a pie to cool on the window sill, you need that bad boy to go straight up. So, yeah, I'm
Well,
up
the
and
pie
down.
can go on a sliding window, left to right. I mean, I get it's not
come
as
on.
cool, but
I don't know. You asked. I never once thought about it, but
Yeah.
again, I won't duck the question. I'm an up and down guy.
yeah, that's definitely interesting. I don't ask how I got to that conclusion or that mailbag, but I was just thinking about windows and home improvement and things like
All
that. Let's go ahead and stick in this range, Justin. If you would you prefer, and I'm curious what you have now, like either what you have now, dream home, whatever, stairs or single story, or like multiple story, or do you like everything to be farmhouse style, one?
I think that's ranch style. I believe is the
ranch style.
I watch a lot of home improvement stuff.
See, this is
I watch
why
a lot
I
of
ask
home
you
shows.
these questions, man.
No, man, you gotta have stairs. Like, okay, when I was here's where it comes from. Let me tell you, real quick. I got about 90 seconds here. When I was growing up, we had a one-story house. And obviously I grew up in a tiny little town. And in my town, the rich kids had an upstairs. You know what I mean? Like was the lap of luck. In 1987, if like I went to a friend's house and they had an upstairs, not even an up, like that was luxury. Wait. So your living room is there, and then you go upstairs and to bed on a different floor. So when I was a kid, because I lived on a one-story house, I always wanted stairs. I was like, I want to go upstairs to bed, and I always thought that was the cool. Also, like, I watched a lot of reruns of the Brady Bunch, and they had, like, the cool stairs.
So
every house in a sitcom that was awesome had a staircase. And I didn't have one. Like, I couldn't slide down the banister like I see on TV. Like Kevin McAllister's sliding down
like
the banisters on Home Alone. So instead.
First of all, yeah, we'll have to get to that tomorrow. What did the McAllister dad do? Because that house had about...
It's an internet rumor. Like,
they had about 15 bedrooms. I'm just saying. Like, it was a very big house.
Not only that, but...
Clearly doing well.
He took his entire family to Paris first class. Right? Come on.
What is that dad doing?
What are we doing? He took the entire family to Paris first class. But yeah, no. When I was a kid, I always wanted to slide down a banister.
So 18 years of your life, you did not have stairs?
16 and a half. And then we moved to a house that had stairs.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid, same thing. Not having stairs in the first two houses I lived in. Grandma had stairs.
Yeah.
Not us.
Lap of luxury.
Till we moved.
Like, that was the rich kids had stairs.
And we had, like, the circle staircase when we had one, Justin.
Oh, yeah, the spiral?
Yeah, kind of. It was like a half spiral.
Yeah.
But went upstairs, and I was like, I remember my sister and I being, like, 6 and 2. We're like, let's go up and down the stairs. So, crazy.
There you go. That's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Devon Pouncey. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody. We're back tomorrow morning bright and early here on 620 Rip City Radio.